Salutations, pod lovers. It's been a while since you've heard our dulcet tones, so we won't starve you any longer. Let us satiate your earbuds with the sounds of Victor Meldrew, aka Ed001, Victor Meldrew's grandfather, aka Ed025, and yours truly, Ed666. How's it going, my lovely boy?
Dad.
It's going well in sunny Liverpool.
It's been a while, guys. What have you been up to? How's the pandemic treating you?
Well, you know, living the party life here, like out and about every day. Oh wait, no, haven't been able to leave still. They've only just released the lockdown here. I don't know about there.
The pandemic has no effect on your life, Tristan. So you never leave.
Actually, that's not true. That's not true. It did have one effect on my life. It made it easier because everything's delivered now.
Listen, let me just say one thing. We should be especially grateful Ed025 is still with us during the pandemic, given the elderly are particularly susceptible to this dangerous COVID-19. So
it's looking
hanging in there,
good man. Yeah. Looks, I'm not old, so I'm okay.
Not old. It was your birthday on Friday, and you had your telegram from the Queen for the 400th time.
I'm a young
Billy, do you want to read the telegram? Billy, do you want to read that telegram out for us? What did the Queen say?
Well,
it said you're still very attractive to young women.
You've never been attractive. Or to young women.
What's it like being a silver?
It's okay, you know. It's I'm a mature male. That's
more of a silverback gorilla, aren't you, Bill?
All right, let me just say here, we're going to combine...
And when you reminisce about the war, is it the Crimean War we have to think?
I've never been in a war yet. Only the Falklands, I think. That's the only war that's affected me.
All right, guys, let me just say here that we're going to combine... and a See You Next Thursday pod today. So we're going to be talking Liverpool and a whole lot of other football rolled into one pod. Lads, I think we should begin with, there's only one thing we can begin with. John Barnes' porn collection. Who the hell in 2020 has porn on DVD?
Other than John Barnes, me.
Have you not heard of Pornhub, digger? What the hell is going on?
He's old. He doesn't know how to use it.
All right, guys. I suppose let's get into it. Let's start with Project Restart, I suppose. Obviously, it's been a massively difficult time for each and every football association across the world during the pandemic. It must be so difficult to try and make plans because the situation changes on a daily basis, and there's been so many moving parts. But as we know, the Premier League is starting again on the 17th of June to empty stadia. So City and Everton will be favourites then for winning every game.
And you're coming on.
Well, it's no different for them, is it?
No, seriously though, it must have been a logistical nightmare to get this going. So kudos to all concerned in getting football back into our lives again.
The only thing for me is that it won't be football as we know it. If anyone's looked at the Bundesliga, there's no atmosphere at the game. And for me, that's one of the most important parts of football. And I know it's got to be done. And we know we've got to get the season finished. Enjoying it is another thing, I think.
Yeah, it's not for me either. I don't really enjoy I tried watching the Bundesliga and I lost track of it. You know, when I normally sit and watch it and, you know, I'll watch videos watching players and that, and the sound is off for that because I'm concentrating on play. But if I'm just watching a game, you know, I want a bit of atmosphere. Otherwise, it's just like you just lose track of it. You're not actually watching it. You look at, you know, you're checking your phone and stuff. And I never check my phone during football. I just can't. You know, I'm not. There's nothing to maintain interest in.
So, what's the alternative then? Not not
There is
have
no
football?
Well, there's no alternative.
Yeah, I mean the crowd sound from computer games is what they're on about, isn't it? So, I mean, it's not for me. I can't stand the crowd noises out of them games personally. But there you go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a serious question. What is the alternative? Not to have football?
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
would that be?
You know, that's the thing, isn't it? There is no real alternative. It's either there's nothing or this. And now I've got the bloody.
Well, that's my question, mate. I mean, what would you rather have, guys? Would you have no football, or would you have football in some guys without the fans? I mean, it's a pertinent question. I
don't think we'll be able to answer that until the games actually start and see if people are enjoying it. Because the whole point of it is to enjoy it. But if you can't enjoy it the way it is, you know, would that be? Yeah. Should we have waited till you could get the crowd back? I don't know.
Because you've got a point. Because it's different when it's your own team. Because I'd watch Liverpool play, and you know, I've watched friendlies and that gone along and been captivated because it's Liverpool. I don't care. It's, you know, what the atmosphere is like. Because it's Liverpool, it matters. So yeah, that might be different. You've got a point there.
But would you want to watch Brighton versus Norwich? I'm just not picking on them two teams, but would you watch that and enjoy it as a game of football if there's no atmosphere? I don't think you would, but as Trish said,
it's just going to be your team, isn't it, that you're going to enjoy now, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You guys watch the game in the Champions League it must have been months ago now. They played, was it Dortmund? And that was the most banal, boring match ever because of no crowd. So I'm not sure if you guys watched that game just before the.
It's pretty much any Man City game as well. And this isn't a dig at Man City or a joke this time. I'm on about because their fans are protesting against UEFA. So when they play in the Champions League, you know, their fans are protesting, so they don't turn up. And those that do, where they're fair weather fans who couldn't give a toss about City, so there's no atmosphere. And their games are awful to watch. It's dreadful watching them in Europe. I just can't enjoy it at all. So,
well, they may not be playing for a couple of years. So,
the atmosphere thing is.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I made that point about it being a logistical night. I mean, we've got to give props to the football, the Premier League for getting it going again. I mean, whatever.
They've done the best.
Exactly.
It's just a bit of a mess, and there's nothing they could do about it. It's just a shame. I just think it just makes it look a bit weird. Those leagues that have already, thrown the towel in just seem a bit odd. The French and the Scots, like. And how can you award...
And the lower leagues in England.
Well, no, I can understand the lower leagues because they can't afford to pay wages without the fans in the ground. So
don't pay the wages.
Well, no, because if the players are playing, they'd have to pay them. They can put them on furlough in League One and League Two because they're not playing and they're not being asked to train. So they can put them on furlough now until they can have the fans back in. So you may as well call those leagues because they're not going to be able to do. They can't afford to play without fans. But I'm talking about top flight.
Can't they get their site? Can't they put a Yeah, but my point about those lower leagues, say, put a stipulation in the contract, sign it again, and say that we'll play with it for no.
You've got to pay police. You've got to pay. You've got to have security because you can't play them because fans might turn up and stuff like that. You've got to have medical staff. It's just the logistics are too expensive. They couldn't possibly do it. So I can understand them, but it's just a top flight like France. Okay, Scots are probably they're not much. Financially, there's only really Celtic and Rangers who got any money, so they might be in a similar position. But France shouldn't have any worries. They're top flight. They shouldn't have called it. It's just odd.
Is that? Well, that's probably from governmental pressure rather than and social pressure rather than a sporting pressure because. Obviously, there's a lot of protests going on about this situation. People are dying, so I can see it from both ways. I mean, really, football isn't the be-all and end-all. It may seem like it, but when people are dying, it isn't.
No, you're right.
No, but people look forward to it, and it cheers them up at the end of the day.
Yeah, but then you're if you're sacrificing health because of it, it just pales into insignificance.
Yeah, but,
I think they did the right thing, to be honest.
New Zealand were back this week, weren't they? With full crowds.
Exactly, yeah, 43,000 in their stadia, and they've got zero. I mean, that's incredible. New Zealand.
Yeah, but they've shut their borders completely, and they've eradicated the coronavirus completely. But nobody can get in or out.
They closed down as soon as it started.
Yeah, what's the same here? They closed they pretty much closed the borders. If you're getting in, you had to go into a quarantine. Nobody got in or out without going through quarantine. Here, so they've opened the malls up and all that, and everyone's back at work and that here.
See, England allowed 20 million to come into the country during the pandemic.
But England, the US and Brazil are the three countries that are struggling the most, and they're the three countries run by the most clueless morons in existence. So what do you expect, really?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I can't.
Sam Allardyce, one of the presidents or something.
You be careful. That's an Everton great. That.
All right, guys. Hand on heart, right? And I want honest answers. I can't remember much about this season. I mean, it's been 2 months or so. I can't remember much what's happened previously. Do you guys?
Do you know what? No.
Exactly.
I know we set records. We were that far ahead. It was kind of just coasting to the finish line, weren't it? So,
I know Billy doesn't.
Yeah, that's an age thing.
I'm still open for a European.
What was breakfast this morning? Billy, what was breakfast this morning? No. I mean, listen, pandemic aside, I'm glad it started again because from a selfish point of view, Liverpool get the title. We will win the Premiership. I mean, if there's not another pandemic.
Look, you've already jinxed it twice. God's sake.
I think it's a caveat. Did you hear the caveat? I said if there's not another pandemic.
Yeah, it's too late now. You've already caused the second wave. I told you. Thank God you can't book tickets to Liverpool this time. So we've got a chance of finishing it.
Yeah.
Talking of that, do you think...
do I think he's to blame? Yes, definitely.
Do you think supporters are going to turn up outside Goodison?
Yeah, because the Everton fans... and that's not a dig at Everton fans, because it'd be the same if it was Everton going to win it, and, and Liverpool fans would do it. Not all, just the odd dickhead. It'd be the same if it was Arsenal, Tottenham, or... whoever else, any two teams nearby in the same city that hate each other, there's always going to be knobheads that are going to turn up.
Do you think that's the reason why they should have had it at neutral grounds?
No, I don't think you should ever play at neutral grounds. You should never give them the chance of winning. Because if you do it at a neutral ground because a few knobheads are likely to turn up and cause a problem, then they're winning because they're getting what they wanted.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, yeah.
And also, the other thing is, you can't... It's near enough important and keep a curfew because people break that curfew because they know nothing's probably going to happen to them. All these people that are causing riots and stuff like that, they're not going to get arrested if they've got away with it. So you can easily ascend to Goodison, 5,000-10,000. You can't keep that many people away. You can't police that many.
No, you can't.
So it's pointless having a curfew. People are going to, like you said, Tristan, you're going to get people that are going to come down and just celebrate. I mean, you can hardly blame them, but I'm not condoning it. But what I'm saying, you can see why they're doing it. It's been 30 years and they've been in lockdown for the last 2 months. They've got cabin fever.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be illegal, but you can see why people do it. I'm not condoning people to do that, but you can understand.
Is cabin fever that rash you were on about after you'd been caught in the cowshed by the missus?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say to you, yeah. So, I mean, it's been it's been brutal without sport. I mean, I realise how much sport means to me, football in particular, and it's been brutal. The only thing I've watched in the last 2 odd months is Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje in the UFC, which was amazing.
I can't tell what day of the week it is without football.
No, I can't. No, you're right, Tris.
We get water delivered on a Saturday. You know, the water bottle for the big, the big gallons things for the water heater thing and cooler. And normally, I know it's Saturday. You know, it's the football. They're out there waiting for him every single week for the last 2 months. He's having to ring the bell. Where's the, do you want any water this week? Oh, yeah. Every single time, because they just don't know it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Tristan, I swear you said, right? Didn't you just say, I can't tell which day of the week it is? And Billy said, no, nor can I. You can't even make it up. So lads, so you think, I mean, a wise woman once told me, right, a human being's greatest gift is to adjust and assimilate into any given situation. And that's what mankind has done. People have done that now all over the world. You know, so we go with it. We just roll with it. I mean, it's football, but not as we know it.
Sorry, you know a wise woman. I'm sorry, I just find it difficult to believe that someone can be considered wise and know you.
Excuse me. So it is what we do. I mean, how long do you think this is going to be? I mean, Klopp's talking about, we'll get on to transfers in a minute, but Klopp's talking about not having people in stadia till well into next season. So this is
at the earliest.
I mean, when does that? Do you think it is? When's the new season? Well, that's a good point.
This is the UK.
When's the new season going to kick off?
This is the UK. Bojo will find a way of messing it up, and it'll take it. It's there's going to be a second wave, bound to be.
Can you see the new regulations that's coming into force possibly this week in England? Is that they're cutting it down now by the World Health Organization to 1 meter from this week. If it's 1 meter, do you think it'd be reasonable to have seats missing in between supporters?
Well, that's what they did here with the cinema and that initially. Is you couldn't sit next to each other. You had to sit spaced out, so you could only have there was the screen had 30 seats. They just put 10 people in there.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, would that work in football? It'd be hard to work, but if it was down to a 1 meter distance,
I think the issue though, Bill, is not the getting them inside and getting them in the seats. It's the outside queuing to get in and turning up at the ground in the there's still if you've got a 50,000 seat stadium, you've still got 5,000 at least people there. They're all in a crush. So I can't see that until they relax those. I mean, do you have to wear face masks and that there yet?
No. You're on public transport, but that's all.
See, they're without face masks. That's the big risk, is the not having a face mask. You should wear, glasses and a face mask is the best way of curing it. Here, it was immediately made compulsory, and there's been nobody that less died in total than die a day in the UK from it.
Yeah.
So how about Billy's idea where we do the spacing at the stadia and wear face masks? That might be an option.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, if they enforce the face mask rule, at least people then, coughing and stuff like that is the issue at the moment. That's where it gets past more than anything. It's not so much touch and that; it's coughing on someone and it going in your eyes in particular. That's why I said glasses, face mask and glasses. It's the best way to stop it spreading.
I just think that...
hopefully.
this is in my what's the words I'm looking for? In my time of life, I've not experienced anything like this. This is something that's it's incomprehensible, and you've got to just roll with the punches and go day by day. I mean, again, like I said earlier,
Billy might do. He might remember the Spanish influenza epidemic of 1918, 1919. What was that like, Bill? Was that similar to this?
It was very similar, actually, yeah.
Was it? What, everyone sat at home watching porn on Pornhub all day?
DVD.
I'm at the top of the league. I think I'm at the top of the league.
Was Zoom the main thing back then?
Hey, Everton were top of the league back then.
Yeah, they were, yeah. They were really good side.
Yeah, and then Liverpool won it in a couple of years.
In a league of one.
There was only one league then.
Yeah, Everton once were a good side. Then
they changed. A good side quite a lot.
No, Everton were quite a good side up until 1892 when they signed over their name to Liverpool FC, didn't it?
We sold to the ground, didn't we? So
no, it wasn't your ground. It was John Holden's. You had a dispute with him because you didn't want to pay the money. He was asking, or something. I've forgotten what it was. I've forgotten the whole dispute, but you fell out with the landlord, and he had Everton Athletic Club that he changed to Liverpool Football Club in 1892 after you left to go to Goodison instead. Obviously, you're still regretting it to this day. And everyone's gone quiet. I bet my internet's gone off because they've all gone. I did that, so I wasted that whole thing because nobody else is here to hear it. So I may as well have said nothing then, and they'll suddenly reappear, no doubt, when the internet reconnects, if that's what's gone on. Yeah. Well.
Starting next season.
Welcome back.
All right.
The internet went off then for a second. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so I missed the last few bits.
Okay, no worries. Me and Billy were just talking about when the new season would start and this one would end. So,
well, they're on about pretty much going straight from one to the other, aren't they? Is the plan?
Are they really?
Well,
wow!
Just a small gap to to rejig the teams and all that, but there ain't going to be a big. Well, they've just had a break, haven't they? So they'll have a break later in the year.
So what about the transfer window then? What happens there?
Well, it'll just be up until whatever the date is. They've extended it, but that can carry on while they play anyway. It always has done in the past.
Yeah, and then what would happen with will it still be a 5-sub rule next season, or is it just this? Is just a special dispensation for this season?
At the moment, it's only been voted in for this end of season, hasn't it? But whether they'll then decide to stick with it, we don't know. Certainly in Italy, they've been trying to change to a 5-sub rule and have that. Basically, you can already have your entire squad on the bench there. But there's a few teams that are against it in England because they say they haven't got a big enough squad and it's a disadvantage. But then they're the ones with good youth teams who should have kids that they can put on the bench. What's the issue?
Exactly. Billy, you got anything to say and finish off this subject?
Not really. I just want to say to people who are thinking of turning up at grounds, please don't turn up at grounds. You're not allowed to. It's just going to make things worse and give the authorities something to maybe stop the football again. Let's get this season over and done with, and let's try and get back on track.
I agree. Okay, guys, let's move on to the BL Black Lives Matter movement and soccer. Maybe we should have started with that. What's your take on it, guys?
Do you want to go first, Bill?
Well, my take on it is that some people are just being bloody minded and using it as a vehicle to promote damage, and I think we're losing sight of what actually happened. And the George Floyd incident, and that it was absolutely tragic what happened, and it has brought it to the fore about racism. I've always been a massive hater of anything to do with racism, but there are people jumping on the bandwagon, which I'm not happy about. All this about statues getting taken down, and I don't think it's helping, and I think the far right are going to use it as an excuse to make even more trouble. I want it to die down a bit now, but still it should be there,
I'm all for anybody taking down Alex Ferguson's statue, so you have my full agreement with that.
But the issue I have is, I mean, when people start saying, "Oh, it's not just Black Lives Matter," well, we know that. That's not the point. Nobody's saying that it's not. They're just saying that they matter as much, is what they're saying. Like,
of course, yeah.
And people just trying to cause problems that take focus away from the issue.
I was sorry. My question was specifically to do with the movement in football, because associated with football, because it's been a running theme in our pods since I can start. We started doing them. I remember is that we've always talked about racism in football in some guys and in our pods. And it's just now it's highlighted it because of the situation, obviously, in the States, and it's trickled down to football and soccer, and in a way, it's probably a positive thing because it's highlighting what's going on. Because there's a reason why there's no Black and Asian soccer referees or Black and Asian managers in football in top level jobs. And that can only be down to one thing, and that's discrimination. Because, I mean, it comes down to the fact that will a white man do a better job than a black man? Obviously not. So the chances are very.
It depends on the white man and depends on the black man, really. I mean,
exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
And that's the problem is people are looking at it and going, "He's white, he's black," rather than saying he's Joe and he's Tom. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the
issue.
It
shouldn't be based on It should be based on merit. Exactly, but they're not getting the opportunities at maybe at lower league levels to do what they show.
I'd like to see higher profile black players put their names forward for the Ian Wrights of this world, and players like that.
But Billy, maybe they have done, and they've just come against a glass ceiling or something.
Well, the ones the ones that have gone in and tried it. I mean, most of them haven't done particularly well. Is the problem is but is that because they've faced racism pushing back against them, making it harder for them? Probably, I think.
It is, but we need a breakthrough. We need someone who is black and successful. Yeah, Chris Hughton's done really well, but if we had a higher profile...
I was going to say he's white, and I'm thinking you talk about Chris Sutton.
No, I said he's done all right. Chris Sutton's never done well. Have you ever seen his managerial career? Oh, he's terrible.
Yeah, but let's talk about referees. Uriah Rennie is the only black referee that I can remember, right? And that just doesn't compute in my head.
Yeah,
how can there only be one?
It's unreal. That just makes no sense that there's only been one. I mean, how?
You're telling me exactly. So maybe there should be a quote. This sounds really probably patronising, but maybe the only black referees into the game is have quotas. You know what I mean? If that's the only way that's going to. But I don't know. I mean, surely there must be black referees in the country that work at the top level. I mean, I just don't understand it. Why aren't they coming through? It can't be a lack of qualifications or a lack of intelligence or a lack of opportunity. I mean, it could be. It's probably the lack of opportunity.
I think that's the obvious one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And what you're saying about Billy is about black players being given the opportunity. Like, I can honestly only think of 2 or 3 that have been successful. It's Seedorf and Rijkaard Hullet.
Yeah, Rijkaard, Hullet, Seedorf. Did Seedorf manage? No, not Seedorf.
He did AC Milan and Sampdoria.
Yeah, he didn't do very
Inter
well.
Milan as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do very well. I'm talking about did well. Who's managing
No.
Ajax? Who's managing Ajax? Not Ajax. They're rivals before Ten Hag beat.
Feyenoord.
Yeah, who was that?
I can't remember, mate. I can't remember.
No, it's either Feyenoord. One of them, I'm sure they had one of the contemporaries of Seedorf.
But let me.
That's who I was thinking of. Van Bronckhorst's doing well at the moment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but what is he black? Van Bronckhorst?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, come to think of it, I can't remember. I just remember he was. I don't know what he looked like. I can't even remember what it was.
Jurgen Klopp's doing really well. Is he black? No.
I don't know. Actually, I can't remember. I can't remember what he looks like.
He looks more.
You might be right. I might be thinking this. No, he is. He is. I was right. I thought he was one of the ones from the islands. Suriname. That's it.
Suriname.
That's what I was
He's
trying
not
to think of.
Surinamese.
Yeah, like
because Rijkaard and Hullet are Surinamese.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was. I thought he was the third one of the trio. They used to talk about them as.
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but he's definitely Indonesian Dutch.
There you go.
So his mother's Moluccan, so Dutch.
Yeah. So, but the point is, like Billy was saying about there's no black players putting them name forward. Maybe they are, but they've got an inferiority complex that they know they're going to get discriminated. So there's no point going further. We just don't know. I mean, I know that Sol Campbell's been vocal about it, but when he's had a chance, he's been rubbish. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's not just that. I mean, it's the wages he asks for. He's so money orientated that he's asking for huge money, and then he wonders why he's not getting jobs at a high. I mean, who's going to hire him until he proves himself? And that's where the problem is the high-profile ones want good money.
He's got so much money. He should be saying, "Look, I'll do it for free. Give me a year's contract."
Yeah, but he was part of the ones that 2 clubs now he's been at that have had financial problems, in part because of his wage demands.
Sickens me, that does. But yeah, what's the answer, guys?
The answer is to get a high-profile player, black player, into a high-profile manager's job.
Do you know what? I disagree. I think the problem is that isn't what matters. It's the owners. You need some high-profile, rich owners who are going to look at, are not going to care. So most rich people tend to be that are in football anyway. I mean, tend to be white and so they tend to go for what they know.
I agree totally. Like in America, when people own the sports franchises.
Yes, exactly.
But like, say for example, like Michael Jordan owns a franchise now, and I'm pretty sure that that
Hornets. Sorry,
you're right. I mean, that's a sad way of doing it. That people employ because they're the same colour as them. That really is a sad thing to hear.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's sad, but people are ignorant and they don't. They know what they know. You've grown up around entitled white people, that's the people you identify with, so you can understand them and you can work with them more easily because you don't have to put in the effort to understand the different culture, even if it's just like someone from Bootle or someone from Crosby. Right. Like my dad grew up in Crosby. He's a bit posh, and my mum's from Bootle. She's poor, and totally the culture didn't mix. The families didn't get on. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, it was very difficult because there's a culture clash. Even at just that. Even at that. So then you take it on a level, and they're from totally different cultures. People do.
The answer. No, I hear you, mate. The answer for me is to put John Barnes, somebody of that profile, in charge of the Premier or the PFA or something like that. And that would be a massive step in the right direction. I think I've got all the time in the world for John Barnes. Clearly, he was one of my favourite players, and I'm biased, but as a man, he's very intelligent, articulate, intelligent, knows a lot about the game.
The best of his management career, we'll tend to forget, except for one moment, the best moment ever. The best moment ever in football, the funniest moment, is when he got sacked from Tranmere. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, they're filming live on Sky Sports, right? And what happened is he used to cycle to work every day because it's only down the road from his home, like. So he just used to push bike there, like. So he's there. And when he got sacked, he's about to ride out. And Jason McAtee is there. He says to he was his assistant, like, and he said to him, "You can't ride out now, there's all the press outside and all that. You'll look, there's no way you're gonna get through them all. And plus, you're gonna look a bit of a divvy going out on your bike." So the pair of them were trying to put the bike in the back of Macca's car while being filmed. Sky are reporting this live, and they're on camera. They couldn't get the bike in the car. The pair of them. And so all of a sudden, McAteer's got phone. You might want to look. You're on live on Sky trying to do this. They're like, "Oh shit." But they were on for a good couple of minutes trying to get this bike in the back of his car.
No, seriously though, I think that I'd love to see that clip.
Get him own in a club. That's what they need. People like Barnes need to go into ownership. Need to buy into clubs.
Yeah,
that'll change it.
That's one of the options. But I seriously.
And it's a social issue that's got to be cleared up as well. I know we're talking about football, but there's still racism is a social problem, and we've got to get it there first.
But I've had this conversation every day for the past 2 weeks, probably. You'll never, ever, and I mean this with the greatest respect, you're never, ever going to eradicate racism and discrimination on this in this world. Never. Because when you get anti-racist, you get racist. It's just a simple fact of. And we can school as many people as we want, but we're never going to eradicate it. So this is my opinion.
You know what I have seen, being an older gentleman, should I say, what I have noticed in my lifetime is that it's really diluting. When I was a kid...
Is it though?
It is diluting. Yeah, it's diluting. And
even with all this populist... Or even though with all the populist movements all across the world being born, and you still fair enough.
I think it's really diluting because when I was younger, and there was black kids who come to our school and that, and you could see the racism there, Whereas now my grandchildren, they don't know the difference between a black child a white child. They wouldn't know because they're just socially integrated and they can't tell the difference. And that's what I've noticed anyway.
I remember taking a French kid on the bus. First time he'd ever seen he was 2, 3, something like that. I used to look after him because you take him out for the day. You can guarantee you come home with like 30 different girls' numbers when I was like 16, 17. Anyway, so we're on the bus on the way to town, and there was a black bloke on the bus. He'd never seen a black bloke before. Top of his voice, "Why is that man black?" It's like, oh, this guy was a big bloke as well, like. And he's asking all these questions. I'm just like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, mate. I'm really sorry. He's just honestly never seen a black bloke before because he'd never really gone anywhere to see. Now,
do you know what? Go on, mate.
I was going to say, I doubt a kid at this age would be able to go 2 years without having bumped into a black person. So it's become more normal, you know what I mean? So it must be dilute. It must surely dilute, make it less of a thing. It must do.
I think it does, yeah.
It'll always be there, but it'll be dickheads who open, that push back rather than the general.
They are now, I think they're really. I hear people, and someone will say something racist, and people will actually turn around and go, "Don't be saying that. Yeah. What are you saying that for?"
Yeah. I mean,
that happens now in society. It never used to happen.
There'll always be some problems. I mean, you've only got to look at Gandhi. I mean, that guy known for peaceful protests and all that. Yeah, he was racist against Africans because he spent time in Africa as a lawyer when he was young and he hated them. But that's some people are just not going to accept each other. They're going to be. There's always going to be bigots. That's not. That's just the way it is. But it's better than it was. It is. It has to be. Because otherwise you wouldn't have these protests. If this had happened in 1950, do you think all these protests would have gone on around the world?
No. 70s, even 80s. Yeah. Even, I think the time was right now. I think we were...
Rodney King was in LA, but did that spread to anywhere else?
No. Yeah, but now... Yeah, exactly. I hear your point about the movement being so strong and fervent now. And it's which is
long way to go.
And what's great society has seeped into sports as well, and they're intermingling, which is an amazing thing, because before it was isolated. And I've got to say, what Liverpool did when they took a knee, it was in training or during a match a few days ago, and I think it was that instigated it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see, because they are role models, and there's going to be kids out there who are not black that are going to see that and just, they're going to be inquisitive. They're going to ask their parents, what's this about? This is their heroes doing it. And the message is going to get furthered. You know what I mean?
They do it for the game as well.
I'm sorry, mate?
I hope they do it for games as well, during a match, before a match as well. Each match they should
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, listen, even to this day, there's racists within the teammates, Look at the John Terry incident, calling Anton Ferdinand a racist slur. I mean, that was recent.
And Luis Suarez. And that was both sides, though, it's got to be said, because Patrice Evra admitted he used a racial slur, which Luis Suarez responded to.
Yeah, that's kind of leaves a bitter taste in my mouth that Suarez. Suarez did wrong. He should have got banned.
There's no problem with that. But why wasn't ever punished? But that's that's another story, isn't it? But
that's a different story. That doesn't suit the narrative of the FA and Man United. That's a different story. Yeah, but as I said, look, you're right. I think that I would have no. Fervently, I would advocate them taking a knee, because whatever it takes to get just everybody to treat everybody equally.
Yeah.
Especially Everton must have something planned for it, to get involved, mustn't they, Bill?
I'd like to think so. I really haven't heard what they're going to do, but I think there will be some sort of gesture made. Let's hope they do anyway, because
Billy,
we want that.
Billy, go on, mate. Sorry, mate. I didn't go.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that I'd like Everton to do something. I think the Everton in the community are doing a lot of stuff on their part, but I'd like it to come, and be high profile on the pitch, just to show that it is wrong.
Oh, Darren, well, before we go on, did I send you that video my uncle did? With the Everton and Liverpool players, old players, for charity. Did I send you that?
No, I don't.
The song,
Oh yes, you did send that. I got it. That was a real
the charity thing for Gary Speed. Yeah, that was my uncle like, didn't I? So the one at the start, that's my uncle like. Yeah, so.
Listen, going back to taking the knee, Billy and Tristan, I wouldn't advise you taking the knee, Billy. You'll never get back up.
You're dead right.
It'd take him too long to get out of the wheelchair anyway.
Well, so I think we're all in agreement then that we'll be more done to fast track black managers and referees in football.
Yeah, we'd like to see more black managers.
And
I would.
owners. I still think owners as well. You've got to have throughout the game at every level. You need to have them. Otherwise, it's spread. It should be.
Why isn't there any black owners? That's a very valid point you make, Tristan. Why isn't there any black owners in the Premiership? I mean, it's not the lack of funds.
Surely it has to. I mean, it's only recently that how many in the UK, how many black, had the money to do so? How many?
But what about that's not the point? No. I'm talking about there's rich black people in the world, like the guy from Africa, the richest guy in Africa.
Yeah, I don't know why
P. Diddy or something.
Yeah. But they're not into, they weren't into football until recent. Most of the rich were, like Michael Jackson, he was the richest, and Oprah Winfrey and people like that. Yeah. Why would they be buying the Premier League team?
If it takes Jay-Z to buy Reading or Watford or whatever it is and install a black manager, then that's what it takes, And that's the advantage. That's where it starts.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jay-Z, but if he did, but I do think someone like him needs to come in, someone rich and successful, take over the club and start change from within.
Have a consortium of black people, and black business people, black sporting icons, or black entertainment people, buy a club, and then, I mean, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
Well, obviously, more importantly than that, it's not just to buy. You've got to remember that the clubs themselves are the stakeholders in the Premier League. They're the shareholders in the Premier League, and the ones that make the decisions, the ones who make the vote. So right now, you've got 20 white people voting on each issue.
Right.
So there's not
exactly.
Or when you might have you might have a couple of Asian people at times, like when the owners of, like, when Cardiff were in the Premier League, Leicester City's owners, things like that. So there's a couple of potentially a couple of Asian, but there's nobody black on there. So what chance have they got?
They need to be high level in the bureaucratic.
They need to be involved. It needs to be spread. It should be. I mean, if there's 5% of the population are black, there should be 5% of the voters should be black. You know what I mean? It should. Otherwise, it's not representing the proper, the real population.
Honestly, Tristan, I keep saying it, but it takes somebody like John Barnes to do this. I mean, he needs to actually get off his. And I mean this in the greatest respect. He needs to get off his soapbox, and actually somebody in the FA needs to just give him the job. They need to give him the job in the PFA or the FA or the Premier League, whatever it is, UEFA, FIFA, whatever it is, give him the job. Because he is the most...
I'm not sure.
Go on, mate.
I don't know if I'd pick it. But he can polarize opinion against him, because sometimes...
The guy is... I personally feel, I don't know about you guys, maybe polarized opinion, but he can see it from both sides. He can be objective, and it's not just coming from he's so, of course he's articulate, but he's crazy intelligent. You know what I mean? He's very, very, I love listening to the guy. Really do. I don't know where it came from. I was thinking
I'd prefer someone from the lower, like Leroy Rossinier and that, who'd actually suffered it properly. Because Barnes, to a degree, was sheltered in the Premier League. He had bananas thrown in at Anfield. Yeah, but that's nothing like as bad as people like Leroy Rossinier had to put up with.
Well, but what did he put up with at Watford? What did he put up with before he went to Watford? Yeah, but I'm just saying,
it'd be nice to get these actually anyone. Just get them involved and actually make some changes.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only reason I'm saying John Barnes because he's high profile enough.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking I'd rather have somebody who wasn't high profile and actually just made a difference, rather than someone who talks a lot but actually hasn't had a lot of effect on things.
Don't let the dog in. Yeah. No, don't let him in.
Let the dog in. What? I'm not letting any dogs in. Next to... Is this that? Is he just trying to get ready for the song? Who let the dogs out? It's been a long time since I sung that. That was Houllier in charge. Who let the Reds out? Who? Houllier. Oh, it's probably, you know what it is? It'd be the sheepdog.
Was going to say, guys. So I think anybody got anything to add on that? Should we move on?
We've discussed.
I know this is going to be. It's just a subject we're going to talk about.
It's an impossible situation for us to discuss. We're not going to solve it, are we? We're not going to come up with anything that they could, that hasn't probably been suggested to them already. So.
Yeah,
we're not going to. Yeah, you're right. We're not going to come out with some trailblazing idea that everybody's going to jump on and think, yeah, eureka moment. Exactly. So, all right, guys. Should we go back to frivolous subjects and let's talk about transfers? Clearly, transfers are all up in the air at the moment, as clubs have been for obvious and not splashed during the pandemic, apart from Chelsea, of course, who are flush with Hazard and Morata money. Guys, what's your take on the transfer situation at the moment?
It's going to be very difficult. I mean, we've seen that Sancho's agents dropped his demands for the 50 million he was asking to make the Sancho transfer.
What's he dropped it to?
Well,
45.
He's just dropped his 50 million. He's not asking for the 50 million anymore. He's not asking for that. For the huge bang up.
Are you joking?
No.
He's actually dropped. He's just said from 50 to 0.
Well, he'll get a cut anyway. He'll get a cut of Sancho's. He gets a percentage. This is the thing. They get a cut of the wages. They get a cut of the signing fee. I mean, why are they being paid a sum up front as well anyway? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's theft, basically, because they're not earning it. They get a percentage. They're representing someone. They're an agent. They should only get a cut of what they get for what the player gets. That's it. That's the only person who should be paying them anything.
Did you say they get a cut of the wages as well?
Well, yeah, it's always what an agent does. In show business as well, they do the same. The problem you've got is, and this is the problem that's coming into football, is they're starting to get the same sort of power as showbiz agents. Like George Mendes is, getting the power. He gets to pick who goes to Wolves, for instance, and Nottingham Forest and stuff like that. And it's starting to become a problem that they've got too much power in that respect because they can make or break a career.
For like Samino Raiola, who class themselves as super agents rather than just a football agent. And so he wants money on top of the money he's getting as a cut anyway.
Yeah, Jonathan Barnett, all them.
Yeah.
Let's rewind a little bit. So Sancho's on, say, if he moves, and he's on 150. The agent will get a little bit of that salary.
Well, yeah, that's standard. You get 10%. You always get 10 or 20% depending on which business you're in. In showbiz, it used to be 20%. I don't know if it still is, but that's what standard used to.
So the agent gets 10% of what Sancho earns a week.
I think it's 10% now in football, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it used to be it used to be 20% in showbiz. You get 20%. Your agent, you get 20%, but he got you the gigs.
Every 7 days, an agent gets money. Most agents get money on what they put.
Well, it's usually paid monthly, isn't it? But yeah, in essence, they get a percentage.
Oh my God, I want to swear.
But that's how it should be. That's all they should be getting. That's all they should be getting. So the better the deal they get for their player, the better the deal they get for themselves. That's all it should be. They should be looking after their.
Flabbergasted.
But that's
Did you know that, Billy?
Yeah.
That's how agency works. Have you never been in showbiz? See, if you'd been in showbiz like us, you'd know these things. See, you should know these things now.
God.
You're on the podcast and that. How much do you pay your agent?
Doing this now.
By the way, did I not tell you you've got to give me 20% of everything you earn? Did I not mention that when I got you to sign that contract and I'm your agent?
Well, that crisp packet of crisps at the back of it, you got me to sign. So let's talk about Sancho then. It's probably a good place to start. What's the story there? Do you think he'll move or do you think he'll stay?
Well, he's been offered to Chelsea again and probably Real Madrid, but I can't see either going for him at the moment. Too expensive for this time of year. I think he's kind of stuck there now.
Yeah, I think he's I mean, Dortmund know they've got a golden egg there, and if they just wait a year, they'll. The only problem is if he gets injured or lack of form or something.
I'm still not convinced he's as great as people make out. I mean, most of his performances have come as a substitute. When he's actually started, and you watch the Bundesliga, I'm not being funny, but the defending's rank. It's like, it's pub league level.
Talking about defenders in the Bundesliga, we'll go back to Sancho in a bit, but that Upamecano's going to Arsenal, no? He's a player.
I don't think he will be, but yeah. He is a good player, but I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I think they'll struggle with that. They're another club that are going to be struggling to pay money. They've got people like Ozil on too much money. Aubameyang, unless he signs a new contract, he's on huge money as well.
Lacazette, 350 a week, no? 300 a week or something?
Over 300 a week, yeah, the pair of them.
Jesus Christ, man.
I think most clubs are going to struggle, in this financial plight that the pandemic's caused. I think the transfers are going to be very minimal.
Yeah, there's not like to be.
Is there going to be more loans rather than transfers, or there's just people aren't just going to do loans?
A lot of players, I think, will end up getting. It's going to be the players coming to end the contract are just going to be having to stay out of contract, because I think clubs are going to be looking to cut back on wages as well.
Yeah.
You do know that you're going to tell me that we're going to offer Adam and Alana a 5-year contract tomorrow, probably now.
What do you mean tomorrow? That was being done weeks ago, mate. They just signed this new one ready to give him time to get it sorted, iron out the details.
Oh God! All right, guys.
No, he's not. He's not. Don't worry. We've got enough to worry about getting new work permits for Minamino and Keaton in January.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on there? What's going to happen? I think they'll get him. I think they're dead.
Keita's English has improved, but he only just scraped by last time. So if it hasn't improved enough,
than yours.
But that's not saying much. The thing is, I don't need to speak English. I'm from England, so I can get away with it. But yeah, him and Minamino.
Well, is that part of his?
Yeah, they have to speak English to a reasonable degree to pass it. They have to pass the test.
Right.
I think Minamino. To be honest, Minamino probably sailed through it because they're in Japan. They're taught it at school. So, because my ex went.
And Minamino speaks English.
Yeah,
I've heard him give interviews in English.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have no trouble. But what I mean is, he'll have no trouble getting a work permit. Is what I meant, because he's international and all that. Like, Keita's issue will be that his English is still not particularly good for someone who's lived in England for 2 years or so and had a year to learn it ahead of time as well. It is better though.
Will still have an effect on European transfers.
What's that? Brexit, you mean? Did you say?
Yeah, Brexit. Yeah, Brexit's have an effect as well.
Oh yeah, because the homegrown rules. It's not just the homegrown rules. The work permit rules are now going to be. Every European players have to have. They didn't have to have work permits, but now they will have to have, or will have to have. I'm not sure if it's this season coming or the one after. It'll
be the one after, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's this coming season. I'm so confused now because this is this break has just thrown me out completely. I'm not sure what season we're in now.
We're in Liverpool's Premiership winning season.
Looks like Grujic will be going now, doesn't it?
Yeah, what do you make about Grujic?
Well, I was discussing this with Ed too the other day. Seriously speaking, and he said, because he was saying about Lazio speaking to Grujic's agent, I said, I honestly think the lad needs to leave Liverpool for his own career. I just can't see him ever forcing his way into the team on a permanent, on a long-term basis. Not quickly enough.
Why?
Because he's just not better than what we've got. I'd rather
Well,
have
we won't know until we play him.
He's not going to replace Fabinho. He's not
Right.
going to replace Wijnaldum. He's not going to replace... if Keita comes good, he's not better than him. He's not better than Henderson. You know what I mean? It's like he's not going to play next year, so we'd have to go out on loan again. I'd rather develop the kids coming through than someone who's going to have work permit difficulties. He's not going to ever qualify as homegrown now. So,
but he's a box-to-box player that we haven't got. I mean, there's some
we have
lack.
Henderson, Wijnaldum. We've got plenty of them.
Wijnaldum needs to start. I wouldn't
Milner.
say Henderson's box-to-box.
Wijnaldum.
They're getting on a bit now.
What about,
Wijnaldum going to
I tried to develop Curtis Jones, you know what I mean? There's a few others. I just don't see it for him. I just for his sake, I think he needs to move on. Because he could establish himself, be first choice, and maybe in 3 years' time he'll be a big star, and we can buy him back and put him in the team. You know what I mean? But I just think for the sake of his development, he needs to go. I think clubs like Liverpool and you just got too many players at times, and they'd be better running with smaller amounts and not having them out on loan and just developing play. You know what I mean? Having ones they definitely need rather than all these spares that just end up their career stagnating. It's not right.
Yeah.
Case in point is Chiravella. I mean, he's a player, that kid, and he's not improved any.
I think he could go on good last
season
when he did get a chance.
I think he could go on and have a career somewhere, a stellar career.
Well, he's at Nantes now, isn't he? So I think he'll start there.
He's 22 or something. He's still young. He seems to be he's been around for ages.
Well, he did join us at like 16, 17, didn't he? Sort of age. So
fair enough. Yeah. So guys, let's go. Let's talk about Timo Werner. We have to talk about Timo Werner.
Who?
What's the real there? What's the
never
real
heard
there?
Of him. No, nobody's mentioned him before. Have you heard of him, Bill?
No, I've never really heard of the fella, no.
So much rumour and counter-rumour on why we didn't sign him. What's the truth, mate?
Well, as far as I can find out, basically the only thing is we just don't have the money to buy anyone of that kind of calibre, even if we wanted to. So it's irrelevant whether we were interested or not before this happened. Right now, we're just having to cut our cloth accordingly, you know what I mean? If somebody went, I think he was always the possibility. If someone went, then he'd be the replacement. You know, a Salah or Mane left, then he'd be the one I'd expect us to go for. But, we were never going to go for him. He was the one. All the talk came from his end, him coming out and saying, I want to, Liverpool are great and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, but the point, the question, I think the question everyone's asking is, if COVID didn't happen, would he be a Liverpool player now?
I don't think he would.
Really?
Not unless one of Mane or Salah went, no.
So you think the only way, even without COVID, if we'd have won the Premiership, etc., and we're in the transfer now, you're telling me that if one of the front three hadn't left, Timo Werner wouldn't have been a Liverpool player? We'd have only signed him if one of the front three left.
I think the problem was, once he came out and started shouting about how much he wanted to join Liverpool, how much he admired Klopp and all that, I think that killed any chance of the move happening. Because it would just open Liverpool up to accusations of tapping up and a possibility of a transfer ban.
Ah, gotcha.
Because it's not like it's the first offence under Klopp. So I think the moment he comes out and says that, and that RBL start asking, hang on, have you been tapping up our player? I think that killed any chance of it happening. Unless...
Yeah, but RBL... But we've got a good relationship with RBL.
Well, exactly, and this was ruining it.
Gotcha. I've got to be honest. I mean, I don't know what Billy, Tristan, what you think about this, but I'm not so sure he'd be that good for us. He plays his most effective football in a counter-attacking team, which we're not. So I'm not sure it's such a great loss, to be honest with you. What do you think, guys?
I think he's a very good player, but I think Kai Havertz might be a better option as far as I can see it. But it's all down to
really, that guy. Kai Havertz can walk on. Really, I love that. The kid is excellent, and I hope he doesn't go to Chelsea because I'll be crestfallen.
Sorry, it Chelsea. Cut out then. You said walk on and then it cut out. Did you say walk on your chest with high heels on? Is that because I wasn't sure. I know that's something you've talked about in the past, but I didn't think that was something we should be discussing on the podcast. That's all.
How can I give your job to someone else? I think it's derelict.
That's what I was asking. I was a bit worried then.
Don't worry, sweetheart. You still got your job.
Thank God for that.
If you buy one player and money was an option for Liverpool, who would it be? Would it be Mbappe?
Oh,
no, I don't. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't take. I'd still have Salah. I love Salah, man.
No,
I think he's been super effective for us.
No, if you could buy one, if you could buy any player, who would you buy?
Billy, it'd be Havertz. I think he's phenomenal.
I think Havertz is phenomenal, yeah.
I think he's a good player. He's had a bad season, but he's just a kid, and they have them. But still, Mbappe is the best player and the best young player in the world at the moment. So, but having said that, no, I take it all back. Changed my mind. The player I'd buy would be Kante, N'Golo Kante.
Whoa!
If money was no object, you buy the best player in the world, and N'Golo Kante was the best player in the world till they moved him out of position.
Yeah.
And they're looking to get rid now, aren't they, as well? Why would they get rid of N'Golo Kante? Why would you do that?
No, it's not so much about they want to get rid. It's if he wants to go, they'll let him go. That's how they work. If a player wants to go, they'll say, okay, well, we're not going to stop you. We don't want an unhappy player. So if a right offer comes in, we'll let you go. You know, we're not going to force you to stay. That's what they did with Hazard. What I'll do with him, you know, it's just about saying to players, no, it's your career, so we can understand if you don't want to stay here, we're not going to force you to. It's not, you're not a slave, you're a player. You know what I mean? It's a job to you. It's up to you. We want you to stay, but if you choose to go, we're not going to we're not going to force you. We're not going to. What's going on now?
I don't know. I had something go off there. Was it Hank?
I think his headphone battery's died, and so he's gone to the speaker.
Would you think he'll go because of his profession? He wants to leave.
I think if PSG come in with the right offer, I think he'd be crazy not to, wouldn't he?
Why?
Go home. He's from Paris. It's the team he supports.
That's too good enough.
And they'd offer him as much money as the money would be no object, would it?
No,
but I don't think he cares about money. I mean, he still drives an old Mini.
What a fabulous player. Talking about Havertz, you think he'll stay? Go to Chelsea? I think he'll. I've got this feeling he'll stay another year.
I don't know. It's up in the air, that one, because they're asking too much, Bayer Leverkusen. But I can't see how they can afford to turn down a decent offer at the moment, no matter how good a player he is. German football's an absolute mess without the fans. You know what I mean? They've got no money.
Right.
I mean, how many was it? It wasn't so long ago. They were worried that 2/3 of the clubs would go out of business. Remember?
Yes. I would do anything for them not to go to Chelsea. I think he's going to, like you, Billy, I think he's going to become a world superstar in the next year or two.
Yeah, he's the player I'm most looking to.
Oh, you mean Kai Havertz? I thought you said like Billy, he might become a world superstar. No, I got you now. I was a bit confused by that one.
Has Liverpool got...
No, go on.
Yeah.
Oh, what's he done this? Oh, is he back? Go on, Abby, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, mate. Have Liverpool got the squad to be successful and for another season without?
Look to. I mean, why would they? Why wouldn't they? I can't see what they really need to strengthen. Hello? Is there anybody? Oh, for God's sake, has the internet gone off again? I think my internet's gone off again. So, it's just me. Yes, so I think the only thing they really need is a backup left back, and that's not really... Oh. Sorry, the internet went off again.
Is it shame or modesty, Bill?
It's modesty.
So you're going to have to go back up... Oh, for God's sake. Now my VPN's gone off again, I'm afraid. So my VPN went off. Sorry, you need to go back a bit before the shame and modesty thing.
All right.
Everton haven't any.
Yeah, Everton. I'm really looking forward to seeing Everton. And seeing them under Ancelotti. I think he can improve Everton. But the thing is with what's happened, I don't know how he's going to get the team together at the moment. Everyone's going to be rusty, and he needs a bit more time.
This pandemic's really going to mess with people like Everton, like who are a bit of an up curve because they've got the new manager in. You're going to have loads of these players because he's got a lot of support over Europe, obviously, in friendships he's formulated, and people would have come to Everton, and it's just messed it up, I think, for you guys.
It has. I really believe that, and I believe that with the financial fair play as well, it's going to mess a bit with any future transfers. It certainly the recent upcoming future. So I'm not expecting great things at the moment, but I think we are on the right curve.
He's making excuses early, Tristan.
I know. He's getting them in. Getting them in nice and early there, Bill.
Yeah. I'm not shouting my mouth off yet.
I know, it's been an hour and you still haven't... You've been shamed into talking about Everton. Okay, I suppose we better talk about Philippe Coutinho return to Liverpool. Media talk of him asking Klopp if he can come back. Loan with option to buy. I know he's a particular favourite of yours, Tristan. What do you think, mate?
It's not that he's not a favourite of mine. I mean, I've got nothing against the lad. I like him. I liked him as a player, but I just don't think he's good enough for where we are now. He wasn't good enough at the time. That's why, when he went, we looked better without him, and we are better without him. And I don't think anything's changed in that respect. If anything, he's a worse player than the one we let go. So why would we want him back? We're a better team. We don't need him.
What if he modified his play? I know what was galling for me was he used to take shots from 25, 30 yards out, right? And
he's only passed to Bobby, and that was it, weren't it? If it wasn't Bobby there, he'd just shoot.
Exactly,
or
but
try and beat 45 people. You know what I mean? He wouldn't pass unless it was for me. It drove me mad. But he's not going to change.
He's overrated, in my opinion.
I agree.
Don't get me wrong. He's a talented kid, but you only ever seen him for 20 minutes in a game, and he did some lovely stuff. But a lot of the time, he went missing for me, Coutinho.
Yeah, he's massive.
It's just my view on him as a player. Very talented individual, but never actually done enough in the games.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that one. And I keep saying it, and I've been saying it. I was saying it before we sold him, so I got a lot of stick saying we'd be better off without him, and it'd help us when he went and all this. But I think I've been proven right.
Yeah, you have, yeah. Very much so.
I agree. I mean, you called it, Tristan. but I still think there's something there. I mean, if he came back for a year or whatever it was, with Klopp guiding him and modified his play, I mean, maybe I'm being mental here. I think there's something. All right, he's a bit of a dick when he left, but wasn't Virgil at Southampton?
Oh, my back.
Yeah, but Virgil.
Yeah, exactly.
Southampton, we don't denigrate him.
And Mane did the same thing at Southampton and RBS.
Exactly.
And,
listen,
Mascherano did the same thing, but I've never forgiven him. So
absolutely. But you're the exception. I know lots and lots of Liverpool fans that hold Mascherano with a great sense of sentimentality. But what I'm saying is I don't think it would be such a bad thing if Coutinho came back on loan for a season.
It would be. It would be a disaster, mate, honestly. He's not good enough. Simple as that. He wouldn't get in the team, so why take him back on his obscene wages? For what?
Yeah,
What's
but they'd be part funded. They'd be part funded, surely.
Well,
we wouldn't pay all his wages.
What good is it? What's the point? We're spending money for something we don't need and don't want. All he's going to do is block Curtis Jones' chances. That's it.
Do you think Curtis Jones has got what it takes to?
Yes. 100%. Yes. 100%. That lad needs to play.
Can you tell me where you think he'd fit in? Or what actual role he played in Liverpool's side?
Coutinho?
Yeah, Coutinho, yeah.
To keep Bobby, Ali and Fab happy. I think
he can make the Brazilian barbecues at home for when they get home to celebrate after wins.
Mate, Billy, to answer your question, that's a silly answer, but I'll never forget that goal he scored against Man United at Old Trafford in the European. No, it wasn't the Champions League; it was the UEFA Cup. Oh my God! When he chipped, what's the keeper's name? What's the United keeper? De Gea. When he took on about 4 or 5 of their players, and he chipped De Gea. Unbelievable.
You can only dine out on that for so long.
I know, but listen. If it's a case of signing no one or getting Coutinho on loan, I don't know. Call me an idiot, but I'd rather have Coutinho.
Squad player. He wouldn't be your big signing, your marquee.
You weren't going to get that.
He'd only be a squad player.
I mean, Tristan, Billy, you both got a point. I mean, at Barcelona and Munich,
What? You cut out a bit then. You said Billy. Billy and I have got a point. We know that, but what was after that?
No, but there's a reason why he didn't shine at Barca and Munich.
Yeah, he's just not as good as Liverpool fans thought. It's because that team was crap. That was when he came in and it improved, and we were a lot of people thought it was him was responsible.
Moving on. I think. There's rumours about Houssem Ayour from Lyon. Have you any thoughts about? He is.
Yeah, I like him. I like him myself.
He can fill 2 positions. He can deputise for money, and he can be that creative force through the middle. Another player, Billy, Tristan, that when you ask me, I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in the next 2-3 years.
I think someone we are interested in, but. That's all it is.
To form an opinion. I've seen bits of him, and he has looked good. But I'd actually have to see a lot more of him to give an honest opinion on him.
Have you seen much, Tristan?
A fair bit, yeah. I've watched a fair bit because, Ed 2 was on about him ages ago. Something else. Wasn't to do with Liverpool, so I watched a fair bit of him then and liked him. Like him a lot. Is it Lille or Leon or whatever? I can't remember. French club.
He plays for Leon, yeah. Leon. He plays. I know that, and his president's a bit of a bugger to deal with, obviously, because of the Fekir deal and everything. But his close control. Guys, when people say that it's like he's glued to his foot, it really is. The way he takes it down, his close control. it's impeccable, and he's shifted positions now. I think he's playing on the left a bit more than right centrally, and he's equally as good in both positions. He really is a player. Really is a player. I think there's a guy called Shakri or something coming through the youth team that they want to fast track, so they're willing to let Ayor go, because otherwise you wouldn't let a talent like this go.
They need to sell to, the French clubs need to, other than PSG, they're not financially that strong. So a lot, it does come down to eventually they have to sell players at some point. But I just thought, while we were on the subject, continue, we should have spoke about Barcelona a bit more.
Yeah, we're going to go on to that, mate. We just got a couple of other transfers to talk about. Yeah, so so Coutinho return. You think it's not going to happen, guys?
God, I hope
no, not for me.
Okay, are you all coming to? Can you see that?
Possibly.
Not this season, I can't see it. I do think eventually, though, he'll be the one that will come in.
Wow.
I hope so. And it might be hope rather than, rather than.
Do you think it would have happened this season if it wasn't for COVID?
Again, I mean, it's difficult to say because it depends on who else comes in for them, innit? So
yeah.
I mean, COVID's killed off a lot of the interesting players, so they're going to be available next year more than likely when they wouldn't have been, and things like that. Yeah. That drops the prices down. And
yeah, exactly. Billy, to answer your question, mate, this would lessen I would love Hassan Ayor at Liverpool. I mean, if it wasn't happening, this kid is his kid is special. Guys, I just want to touch upon Diego. I think we're not going to be shelling out 60 million for him.
Sorry, who? You cut out.
Diego Carlos, the Valencia defender.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't see that happening. I hope not. Anyway.
I don't think he fits the mould. He's 28, is he? Would FSG spend 50, 60 million on a 28-year-old?
No, I can't see that ever happening. I don't think it would ever have been that price if we'd have bought him. Not at that age.
Gotcha. I'm not sure. I don't think at 28 it's not going to happen. I don't think we buy ready-made players, do we?
Van Dijk, Alisson.
Yeah,
why not?
Into a top player, you're going to be interested in them. I'm not saying he's not a top player, but you've got to fit a bill with Liverpool, and you've got to be the best of the best. That's what Liverpool bought recently, and it's been successful. And I don't know whether he's the best of the best.
It's only because we've got the three centre backs that seem to struggle to stay fit that we even, that there's even a consideration. Otherwise, I'm sure Klopp would be happy with the three he's got. I mean, Lovren's possibly probably the worst of the four. He's an international centre back, and he's Salah's best mate. So you're not really, you don't really want to move him on as such, do you? If you're in Klopp's position, it's good for the team spirit and that. And on his day, he's a good player, Lovren. And he shouldn't be playing much, but obviously the injury, Gomez has suffered a couple of injuries. That he might have niggles and that, still returning from injury, and then Matip can never stay fit. So yeah, I can see why people think, why we're looking at a centre back, but I can't see us spending big on one right now.
I'm not the biggest fan, but I think what they've got there is they've got a rock in Van Dijk, and they can play anyone else with him will do a job. And so I don't think that's one of your prime targets.
To be fair, most of the season, Gomez has been the better player of the two. That's how good he's been. So since returning,
Gomez has done.
So you don't need one. You've got two.
Yeah.
Fantastic centre backs. It's not something we'd need if it wasn't for Matip and Lovren can't stay fit.
I know. Matip on his day, guys, is a fantastic centre back as well. He stepped up.
Yeah, and then he got injured again, and this is the problem. Yeah, he was great, then he gets injured again. It's like, oh, come on, lad.
Yeah.
It's such a shame.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing
the
so well.
There. The
You can't trust him.
Yeah. I'd rather spend the money on Hassan Ayour, to be honest with you. All right, guys. Should we? You touched upon Barcelona. Should we talk about Barcelona now?
It seems like it's because it's there's been a lot in the newspapers and that about it, hasn't there, recently? So it does seem to make sense that we talk about it.
Okay. Would you want to start with Pep, the election, his wife?
Well, it's
Pep's
all
wife
interconnected. This is the thing, isn't it? It's all interconnected. Laporta looks like he's going to beat Bartomeu. Bartomeu is the one who's the current incumbent president, and the one that Pep left because of and hates, and so do people like Xavi, and that won't have anything to do with it. Well, that's why they wouldn't take. That's why they had so much trouble getting a manager now. I mean, Quique Setien's fine, but it looks like they're going to be replacing him in the summer anyway. I don't know why. They should just give him more time, but there you go. Laporta wants Pep back. He's come out publicly and said it. Pep, obviously, he's always said he wants to go back to Barcelona eventually. Though everyone expected him to go to Italy next, to be honest. However, during this COVID thing, his wife, who's got a business, her business is still, she's got a fashion business in Barcelona. She's gone home, and it looks like she's going to stay there, going to live in Barcelona, and is not going back out. With the family, it looks like she's taken the whole family back home for good at the moment. As far as we, obviously things can change. She might change her mind and that. You never know. But right now, with the lack of flights and all this, travel restrictions and all that making it difficult. Obviously, that's going to be an issue for him. Is staying away. It's going to be a bit like he could end up being like Rafi, where he's having to take a job and he's not seeing his family for months at a time, And
that didn't bother Rafa, really.
It does, though. Rafa hates, but he just loves. He's football obsessive. Pep's the same, exactly. But he's also very family orientated. Very family orientated.
No, but it didn't matter to Rafa. He didn't care about them. Say he didn't care about his family, but he was so football obsessed. He did, but he just couldn't sit still when he was at home without football. He's obsessed, you know what I mean? And it's just there, Monty just wants him out of her hair, I think, more than anything. She's just like, I can't cope with you when you're at home, you know what I mean, without football. Like, because, it's just driving me mad. But like him...
Pep said he's not going anywhere. Pep said
yeah, but he said this before. This was before this happened, remember? This was after, when the ban was being... That was Bartomeu came out and criticised, and Pep hit back at Bartomeu. Not Laporta. Laporta's the one that's going to be coming in, and that's the one he worked with in his first spell. That's his mate who appointed him in the first place. You know what I mean? It's a totally different thing. Laporta's the one he's close to. He's the one who wants him back. He was never going to go back with Bartomeu. Never. It would never have happened. But now Laporte looks like taking over. Suddenly that changes everything. He's very close to his family. His mother's just died. He's got all the travel restrictions make it difficult for him to go home. So, it's tugging on the heartstrings now, whereas before it was just a case of, nah, I'm not going to go back. You know what I mean? I don't want to work with that arsehole. Now it's suddenly me mate's in charge. So, that's a possibility now that we can't rule out. Though I still think he'll probably end up going to Juventus next. I think everyone thinks that. I think pretty much everyone thinks that, don't they? I mean, he was always going to go to... He wants to prove himself in the top 5 leagues, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
So, it's likely to be Italy next. And Juventus was always the thought. But I think this has made... made things different. The other option, obviously, is Laporta would like, is if we can't get Pep, was the one that turned it down before Quique Setien, Xavi. And the reason why the difficulty with Xavi is Xavi doesn't want to work with Neymar. And Barca want to bring back Neymar. This is one of the things Laporta said he wants to do, is bring back Neymar. But Xavi doesn't want to work with Neymar.
I wouldn't want to work with Neymar either.
No, who would? But I mean, you can understand it. But he wants either Sancho or Serge Gnabry.
Well, Gnabry's a player.
Yeah, I quite like him. I think it was a mistake to sell by Arsenal. I don't know what Wenger was seeing when he watched him. I really don't understand why he didn't play him more. Why he let him go to... Wasn't it West Brom he sent him on loan to under Tony Pulis? I mean, what? What? You've got an exciting, tricky winger. Let's send him to work with Tony Pulis. He'll soon beat out the skill, won't he?
Now, Tristan, if City lose their appeal,
well, yeah, this is the other thing. Obviously, that could force that could change it. Where Pep might say, you know what, with all this happening and my mates in it, I think I want to go home. I mean, would you stand in his way if you were City? You wouldn't, would you? Let's be honest. I mean, it'd be understandable in this state. Without the European football and that, you'd have to say, yeah, and understand it.
It seems that he's laying foundations and life, the universe is just, go one way, and that's he's going to go back to his spiritual home, Barcelona. It seems all the bricks are falling.
Well, yeah, what options have they got other than that? I mean, other than Xavi, who doesn't want to work with Neymar and they want to bring Neymar back, I mean, the only other options, Pochettino, who they did have a word with before going to Setien. But I mean, Pochettino's nowhere near good enough for a top club. He's not going to win things. Gallardo, who's I think's a fantastic manager, and I really don't understand why no big European club's already got him. I don't get that. Marcelo Gallardo is a fabulous manager and should be in at a big club. And the other one they're considering is the Barca B coach, similar to how they did with Pep, which is Xavi Pimienta, even.
All right.
They're the main front runners at the moment, but I mean, obviously it depends. If Laporta doesn't win, Pep's not going back. 100%. We can rule that out. It'll only happen if Laporta goes back. That's the only time it'll be a possibility.
Yeah.
Because he won't work. He won't work with Bartolomeo. Oh, there's Max Allegri available as well, isn't there? And Stefano Pioli. So there are some good managers around.
Yeah, for a change. I mean, there hasn't been this many good talent pool of managers around for a while. I mean, together available.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite odd that these are available. I'd still go with that. If it was me and I was a manager, owner of a club right now, and I didn't have a manager as a top club and I wanted to win things, I would be moving heaven and earth to get Marcelo Gallardo myself.
Who's he managing now?
Is it River Plate? He's the most successful.
Oh, manager. The Argentinian one. Yeah. Yeah, now I understand. Now I get it. Yeah, I was trying to rack my brains. I couldn't remember who it was. Yeah, the River Plate manager. So what do you think the odds are of him going back to Barca next season?
We'll say. Are we saying like if Laporta wins, or we just mean in general?
Yeah,
right? If Laporta wins, I'd say it's probably. I mean, it's tough to say odds, isn't it? I mean, you really. I mean, it's got to be 50-50 because it could go either way. I mean, it comes down to his personal decision, then, doesn't it?
No. Are City aware of the fact that this is happening? I mean, has he kept him in the loop?
Risk as possible, yeah. But I mean, if City are still in Europe, that changes things again, doesn't it? I mean, if City still get kicked out of Europe, at the moment, City are out of Europe. Remember?
Right.
So,
and when's their appeal this week? Right?
Yeah, isn't it? What days?
Very shortly.
Slap on the wrist, Billy. Tristan. I think they'll get. I
think they'll get a year. I think it'll go down to a year, and I think Guardiola will stay for another 2 years.
It's gonna be a real difficult one, this, because the problem they've got is UEFA that have banned them on this evidence have refused to accept this evidence, the same set of evidence, when it's against them, when they were doing their investigation on themselves. Conveniently, when it was on them, when the evidence was from these football leaks was against themselves, it was inadmissible. Odd that, isn't it? Yeah. And this is the problem they've got. It either is or it isn't. So I think Man City are going to get away with it, personally.
Me too, because their brief he's a real hound, that guy. I can't remember his name, but he is militant. He's really going for him. I think they'll get away with it as well, because he's got them on a technicality as well.
I just can't see how UEFA can put... I mean, I fully understand that they've got evidence and it's bang to rights, but the same evidence that they won't accept when it's about themselves. So you either accept it or you don't. It's either usable or it isn't. You can't have it both ways.
And also, sorry, Billy, I don't mean to interject. Go on, bud.
No, I was just saying it is a really tricky one, that with City. And we'll just have to see how that plays out, I think.
I think before COVID, it would have been a year's ban. But now, I think everybody's in a forgiving mood. I think it will be a slap on the wrist.
I don't think CAS will uphold the ruling at all. I think it'll be overturned simply because UEFA refused to accept the evidence when it's against themselves, unless they're going to be sued. Let's put it this way: if they lose. If City lose, I expect them to sue UEFA.
And I bet they will,
They'll go to for them over the charges against UEFA, I think.
And I think also, when I say everybody's in a forgiving mood, it's because of the current climate with COVID and everything. Everything seems to have been trivialized. So I don't think that it's as... you microscoped it before COVID. All these situations, it's not as big as it was. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I fully agree with you.
And hence why I think they'll get away with it as well. I just think they'll get a slap on the wrist, and then Billy, honestly, I don't even think it'll be a year.
Yeah, I think they'll make a deal. UEFA will make a deal with them, and they'll just give them a slap on the wrist.
No, we have to see how that plays out then.
Absolutely. Hey guys, there's the other thing I had my notes about, and a bit of transfer news. Reading about Adam Traore and Ruben Neves in £110 million.
Who? Adam Traore and Ruben Neville.
Adama Traore and Ruben Neves. Sorry.
I'm confused. You've anglicised them.
Exactly. So
it's a bit like my uncle. Every time he wouldn't say Thierry Henry, like it'd be Terry Henry. He refused to say Thierry Henry. You've just done it with those two.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't do it again. Any chance of that? No, there's more chance of you having sex with a girl and that deal happening.
A what?
Just go back into your memory bank in the 80s. You used to speak to them on occasion.
No, I never did then. I was too scared then. Too shy, mate. You know what I mean? I'm too quiet and shy.
Yeah, there's a song there somewhere, isn't there? That's not going to happen, is it, guys?
What, no. You singing? I hope not.
Adama Traore and Ruben Neves.
I mean, the price they were talking about as well. It's like Liverpool can't afford to pay whatever it was for Timo Werner, and then the same papers would be running the story, but they're going to pay double the amount for Adama Traore. I mean, you just have to look at it and go, just piss off. You know what I mean? It's clickbait. It's clickbait. That's all it is.
I don't even think, to be honest, I think Neves he's stalled at Wolves. He isn't. He isn't the player I thought he was going to become.
He's just had a down. Players do that. He was at the age where he broken through as a youngster, and then they have a second-year syndrome. It's always the same because they have to, other players work them out and know what they're going to do, and teams make specific plans, alter their tactics to nullify players like that. So they have to relearn their game. It's always the second season's always a difficult one because of that. So I don't think it's. I think he'll be fine in time. He just needed to get this second season out the way, like.
Maybe a new beginning as well. Probably a new set of circumstances, new changing room.
He just needed to figure out how to beat those that are setting up plans specifically to deal with him, and the team has learned how to do it. He's not been playing as well, but the team as a whole has still been putting in the results. They're still not as good at results as Sheffield United, but still.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, one more thing. Chilwell to Chelsea. Is that real, or is that just transfer talk?
There's interest, isn't there? I think they'd be making a huge mistake if they signed him. I mean, we were talking about it on the Chelsea site. We were talking about it on the Chelsea site, and they were asking me about it on there. And what I'm saying on there is, before Frank Lampard came in, Ross Barkley would knuckle down. He was performing a bit, you know what I mean? He was working a bit hard. He was keeping his nose clean, staying out of trouble a bit more. And the previous manager, Frank Lampard comes in. He's a bit softer on the players, a bit less, not so tough on them. Ross Barkley's gone back to his old ways. Ben Chilwell's got an attitude like Ross Barkley. He's having a few problems at Leicester. He's been dropped for a game. Remember him and Hamza Chowdhury because they've repeatedly missed training sessions and that. You steer clear of players like that now.
You'd think so.
Especially if you've got Frank Lampard in charge, because he's clearly shown with the way he's handled Ross Barkley that he's not the man to deal with problem players. It's not that's not a slight on him, because that's not an issue. That's not his fault. Ross Barkley should be a professional.
It's not his job either, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not his job. His job isn't. The recruitment need to look at it and say these aren't the type of players we need to go for. We need to go for players like Kante, who are model professionals, a bit like Liverpool have done under Klopp.
Yeah.
They've gone for they're model professionals on the pitch, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean? Off the pitch.
Absolutely.
It's a different thing from going on strike to get a move to a bigger club than going out on the lash the night before the game or getting into fights outside taxis and things like that. You know what I mean? That's a totally different thing. You'd never see Mane or Salah getting involved in those kind of problems.
Or anything like that.
That Barkley's doing, and and they don't skip training like Chilwell's doing and that. Could you imagine Kante missing training?
No.
He just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't even dream of it. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't occur to him to do it. And that's the kind of players you need to have at a club like Chelsea. You need the model professionals to work with a coach who's going to get the best, who hopefully, for their sake, you know what I mean, he's going to work with them and make them better. But they don't need players like Chilwell who are going to cause problems. And that's how I see it anyway.
It'd be super expensive.
He's a quality player, but
he's
it's so important, isn't it? Like Klopp said about our player conducts himself. Before he signs a player, he looks into his behaviour and what his makeup is, and that's a great way to choose players, isn't it? Rather than just on ability alone.
Liverpool's success has always been built on good recruitment and finding out about players' backgrounds. When they've been, every successful period has done that.
Exactly. I totally agree. Billy, you're right as well. I mean, it's basically. I think Klopp. I mean, there's a reason why Klopp bases his recruitment with family and religion in mind, because you got to be honest, they're easier to manage, because he's got a core of Christian players and a core of Muslim players, and he's got no problem. And the ones that are, say, not so religious, they're like model professionals, like the Milners and the Hendersons. And the young kids see that automatically. They think, and they're getting good kind of positive professionals. They're looking up to them. you know? And they're thinking, well, there's no place for being disruptive.
Yeah, that's not how, that's not how you get on at a club like Liverpool. They see that, they learn. It rubs off on them. Eric Cantona's the big example of this. Everyone thinks of him as trouble, but the reason why David Beckham used to stay behind after training and practice free kicks is because he saw Eric Cantona do the same thing. And that was how he became so good at delivering a dead ball, because he watched Eric Cantona do it. Well, he didn't watch him. What was happening was when Eric Cantona first moved to Man United, he asked, at the end of training, he asked for a couple of youth team lads, if he could have a couple of youth team lads to stay behind and fetch balls for him so he could practice free kicks. Right. Now that rubbed off on them, and they all took that as an example, and that's what you need from the pros. You don't want your Chilwells coming in and not bothering to turn up unless they feel like it, and that because it's not a good example to him.
No, it's not.
And the thing is, say for example, I give Klopp as an example. He's a very religious man. He's a big Christian. I'm not sure many people know that, but so he wants people in his mold, so people that are religious who've got faith, and he can. And let's face it, they're easier. And like you say, people like, for example, say El Hadj Diouf. You wouldn't want him anywhere near your team.
No,
right?
No, I'm still ashamed we had him.
Exactly, mate. Give me examples like that. And I don't know, people like Neymar, who, obviously he's got all the talent in the world, but he misses training sessions, he misses games,
Yeah, skips off to go to Brazil when he feels like it. Exactly.
So, we're talking about the Ronaldinhos of this world, even.
Yeah, that was why he got booted out of Barcelona quick, not because he wasn't playing well, because he was still playing well at the time. But they had Messi coming up, and they didn't want him learning off him and Deco. It was him and Deco were going out drinking a lot together. Yeah. And, when it wasn't even Pep's decision. This is what people think Pep sold them to, and it was a masterstroke. It wasn't a Pep decision. It was a club decision. These two were causing problems. They need to go. It just happened to coincide with Frank Rijkaard leaving and Pep taking over. You know what I mean? Is that this change of guard to Messi, and it worked out brilliantly. But they were kind of leading Messi astray, weren't they? Yeah. Deco and Ronaldinho. Yeah, they were going out they were coming into training drunk and stuff like that, and Messi was just a kid at the time, still a youngster coming through. And there was a definite fear that they were influencing him, because they were told, they were the ones he looked up to in training, because they were the star players. So they got rid of both.
Absolutely.
And but look at the difference. Look at the difference it made to them. It was huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can imagine, right? Say for example, I'll give you an example. There's Rio Carnival going on. You can't never imagine Firmino, Alisson, and Fabinho saying, right, let's get on a private jet to Rio. They'd be like, no way. Even if they thought of it, they'd put the fear of Klopp put the fear of God in them.
Yeah,
that's the kind of players you want.
Yeah, Neymar's been injured every year. The Rio Carnival and his birthday. Every year.
Exactly.
He's injured for those two. Every year he's been injured for them and happened to go back to Brazil.
I'm not even going to dispute that. It's probably true. But my point is, can you imagine?
Because I've researched it. That's one of those things I've actually researched for an article. So.
Now, can you imagine Bobby doing that, or Fabinho doing that, or Alisson doing that? No way.
They wouldn't want to miss the games. They'd rather be playing football than go in the carnival.
But this is like what you guys said. It's like what you, Billy said about recruiting the right personalities for the job.
Yeah.
If you do the background check.
Over talent as well. You can be the most talented guy, but if you've got no discipline and no family values or whatever, you're not going to be a benefit to the team, are you?
Absolutely, Billy. I agree with you 100%. Look at Milner. He's not the most talented guy in the world. He's done it through hard work and sheer what he's achieved in life.
Yeah.
You're not going to say, oh, when you look at football, you're not going to say, oh, James Milner, what a fantastically talented player. You're going to say, wow, James Milner, what a model professional. You'd want 11 of them in your team every week, you know?
Yeah. Fantastic player.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, he's a fantastic player through hard work, not because he was born talented.
No, he's always talented, but he's dedicated.
Absolutely
16,
dedicated, mate.
He was 16, he was a flashy winger for a while, mate.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? He isn't like the world.
He's made a long career out of being more than just talented. That's the difference.
Yeah. He's made it
better,
because he's made sacrifices which some of these players wouldn't do. You know,
he goes into training twice a day. You know what I mean? Does extra training he doesn't need to do because he wants to, because he knows it'll be better for him.
Yeah, he'd rather play at the top level till 30. Those sacrifices at 26, 27, then finish his career.
Yeah, there's just one thing I don't understand about these young players. I get it that the peer pressure, you want to go out with your mates, right? But you're a multi-millionaire. You're earning millions. As soon as you retire, you can do whatever the bloody hell you want. You can go out
and it's not even late. 34, retire at 34 isn't even fligging.
Exactly, you can afford to do whatever you want. Why can't you wait? I mean, what is wrong with them?
I don't get it.
They're doing something that most of us have spent our time at that time. We were paying to play football. You know what I mean? Paying subs to go and play for the team. And these people are getting paid millions to do it, and they can't even be bothered to make it, to put an effort in. It's ridiculous.
Getting paid millions, because they see themselves as celebrities and they see themselves as superstars when they're only learning the trade. Your Jack Grealishes, for instance, who think they can do exactly, and Ross Barkley, they can do exactly what they want to do because they've got the money to do it, and they're not committed.
And they really do seem to forget why they got to the position in the first place as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand what you're saying, Tristan, but it is, even if you retire at 32, right? It's not as if they don't go out throughout their careers. Of course they go out on the lash and have fun, but I would be thinking at 30, I'm going to be the best I can be, and then I'm going to retire around 32, and I'm going to have gazillions in my bank account, and I'm going to go and paint the world red. Do you know what I mean? Not the... absolutely crazy. I'm going to be the most wildest man. It's not as if they don't go out anyway. I mean, I don't know why they don't have that Ronaldo mindset. You know what I mean?
They have press a self-destruct button, some of them. They think that because they're rich and because they're famous and they've got notoriety, that they can treat people how they want to and behave the way they want to rather than what's expected of them. And that's why you need more managers like Jurgen Klopp who are going to say, you can't do that. You're not part of my plans. And I think if more clubs done that and more managers done that, I think the football world would be a better world.
Yeah. And you make a very, very salient point, mate. I just think this is why somebody like Klopp is so revered and respected.
To be fair, Pep's another one. He doesn't. He doesn't like his players to be, arsing about as well. He likes them to work hard.
Who's that?
Pep.
Yeah. I mean, but they're few and far between, aren't they? There's more managers who want to be friends with their players rather than their bosses.
Yeah, but the two best around at the moment, most people would say, were Pep and Klopp. And they're the two that are wanting players. They're still on good terms with the players, but they expect a certain level of discipline, self-discipline from the players.
Yeah, but Klopp's, and I'm sure Klopp's all about, listen, give me the season, show me some hard work and dedication, and then I'll reward you. He goes to Ibiza with his players. Who does that? Do you know what I mean? It's like he's got the balance correct. It's like parenting. Parents try and be friends rather than actually. Yeah. That's the issue. That's the issue. And I mean, like.
Analogy there. That's a good analogy there.
Because it's very like parenting. You're spot on.
It's insane. I mean, it's like, all right, I understand they want to go out on the lash. There's the women and the guys and the drugs and everything. I understand all that, right? But it's like you've got to have a balance. I mean, it's not to think that they don't do all these things, right? We'd be stupid if we said they didn't do all these things. But there's a time and a place for everything, you know?
It's the same in
have
every
you seen?
sport. You always, the ones that are the most successful in any sport are the ones that dedicate themselves. The Michael Jordans, the Cristiano Ronaldo's.
Yeah. Listen, you know what I would do personally if it was me? I would say to him, look, mate, give me the season, this 6, 7, 8 months, right? Just give me dedication, and then what you do in the summer is up to you. I don't care. As long as you don't get yourself into the papers, I don't care. Do what you want to do. Go wild. But for those 6 months, just give me hard work, dedication, and endeavour. And I think that's the way it should be.
I slightly disagree with that, only on the basis that I think you've got to have a certain mentality and not just switch off after 6 months. I think it's got to be part of your makeup and part of your being that you're dedicated, and as you were talking about religion before, that you follow values in life, and that can't just be for 6 months and then you let your hair down. It's got to be within moderation, all things in moderation. And I think that's the main player of your Salah, your Mane, and that. They don't seem to go on the lash or go off the rails at certain periods.
Well, Mane and Salah aren't going to because they don't drink. Same with Henderson.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, mate. But the thing is, we've got to be.
Oh, well, I bet you were saying something really insightful then for the first time ever, and it's gone off again. I mean, how does this keep happening? Mind, it doesn't normally matter because, you've got nothing interesting to say, have you, normally? But this time, I'm sure you were actually making a really good point because you were actually making some there. To have this cut out just at that moment that you start saying something is very frustrating. Hopefully it'll come back soon.
The right players. Listen,
you just went off a set. You have to go back a bit. Just as you started going, it cut off.
Yeah. What was the last thing you heard?
Well, you just started on a diet. You literally went to start it, and it went off.
On a diatribe, yeah. Yeah, but I was saying about Billy was agreeing with Billy. Okay, if you're not going to get those talented kids that are going to party in the summer, right? You recruit those family men, those religious guys, you know what I mean, that don't drink or whatever, or don't party. So at Liverpool, I think we've got a nice mix. We've got young kids, model professionals, religious guys, whatever. I think we've been lucky. But no, maybe it's not lucky. Maybe it's just the way we've recruited.
Yeah, it's not luck. They're choosing them specifically. They're looking at their background and that. It's the same it used to be done. Jeff 20 used to go round the houses, you know what I mean, and go round all the, if he was looking at a player from, say, Carlisle, he'd go and he'd follow the away fans, right? He'd go in the away games, and then he'd go in the away, the Carlisle fans, the away fans, because obviously they're the ones that tend to follow closer. And he'd be in talking to them all about the player and finding out if he got into any problems, you know what I mean? Go and meet the family and all sorts of things. And even after they signed, he wouldn't stop then. He'd still be going to the ground and talking to them. Like when Rush signed and he wasn't fitting in straight away, it was Twentyman who came in and told him what he was doing, why they'd signed him. He said, this is what you were doing, why we signed you. Just go back to doing that.
Yeah, no, I get you, mate. No, I hear you. But the caveat to all this is, I'm just going to give an example. Look at Graham Souness, Alan Hansen, Kenny Dalglish, right? They drunk, went out, partied, and look at them. They were...
Yeah, but they worked hard on the training pitch to make up for it, and the game was slower. You didn't need to... It wasn't as physical as it is now, as in, fast, you know what I mean? Speed. You just needed to be strong and tough to handle it physically, you know what I mean? And they spent enough, they worked their backsides off in training.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
And with also, last word on this is a lot. It's down to the individual himself. Some people can handle situations better than others. You know, your likes of your Robbie Fowler, he could go out and have a drink, but still perform. Your Paul Gascoigne, he could do the same. Could still turn up and do a job the next day. Some can't. Some can handle it, and some can't. And it's down to the individual and the makeup.
Tony Adams is another one.
Yeah.
Very good point, yeah.
In fact, that whole Arsenal team, Ray Parlour was fit as a fiddle. Yeah, he'd be drinking 10 pints and 10 pints plus a night.
Yeah.
And it's like people like Brian Robson and Norman Whiteside, all the talent in the world, but their lifestyle kind of curtailed their careers, I'm sure.
Injury problems,
Yeah. Hey, we've been 2.5 United once. Well, just now. Or maybe a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't even spoken about Pogba or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to have a quick chat about that?
Yeah, I mean, they're holding on to him. They're still trying to hold on to him. I don't know if it's the right choice. Do you not think Bruno's replaced him now? They don't need him.
Can they play in tandem? I'm not sure.
What do you think, Bill?
I'm not sure. I think they'd be better cutting the losses.
You can't remember Pogba.
Well, it's not just that. You look at the way they play defensively and that. I just don't think Pogba can fit into that role.
No, I don't at the moment.
I think it's either him or Bruno, isn't it? And Bruno's a better player.
Yeah, I think Pogba's a talented player, but going back to the issue of self-discipline and attitude, he's not what Man United need at this time.
His problem is his personality he's like, he just wants to be showy. He wants to be seen.
Yeah, it's a show pony, yeah.
He doesn't want to, it's not that he can't do it. He's got the fitness, he's got the speed, he's got physical skills to do it. He doesn't drink, he doesn't go out clubbing or anything. You know, people moan about him having his hair cut all the time and that. Well, he's not going out on the lash every night. What's the problem with that? I've got no issue with that. Problem for me is when he gets on the pitch, he just wants to do a couple of little flashy moments and then he thinks that's enough and then he coasts. He doesn't do enough. Yeah. He's not performing to his potential. I think Kante gets the absolute most out of every little bit of talent he's got, and that's why he's the best. Then you look at Pogba and you think, you should be better than him. You should be a mile better than Kante because physically you're immense. Talent is immense. You're one of possibly the most talented player around at the moment, but you just you're doing 2 minutes a game at most that you're actually showing up for. It's not enough.
I think the reason for that is to get the best out of Pogba, I think he needs to be at a place where he's happy. Once you see a happy Pogba, you're going to see a world-class talent, in my opinion.
No,
I just think he's
he's a highlight reel player. He just wants to be flashy rather than good.
Do you
remember what it always takes me back to White Men Can't Jump when he said, when Woody Harrelson says to Wesley Snipes, "You'd rather look good than win." That's Pogba.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Pogba is. He is that person. He wants to look good rather than, it's not all about winning. Like Milner will run himself into the ground. Kante run himself into the ground. Pogba could be better than both of those, but he won't because he's more bothered about looking good. It's not just the haircuts and all that. It's on the pitch. He wants to do nice little flicks and that rather than doing the dirty stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe it's give him a manager that he respects. I mean, with due respect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to get the best out of him.
Yeah, maybe he needs someone stronger. Maybe he does, but I just don't think. I just think it's his personality. It just needs to. He just needs to understand that looking good, people won't remember you looking good in 50 years' time if you've won half of what you should have, and people will just be banging on about you didn't win as much as you should have. Yeah. And I think that's his problem. He thinks looking good is what he just wants people to see him look good.
As I say, I think a stronger manager would help. Someone who he respected, because there's no doubt about his talent.
And he's clearly a nice lad.
He seems a nice guy.
He doesn't drink, he trains well and that.
And he's
just
super charitable as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that about him. He's super charitable, man. I like that about him. Who was his manager under at Juve? Was it Lippi?
Could have been.
Wasn't it Allegri? No. Didn't he have one season under Allegri, one under Conte?
I'm not sure because I think that's where he played his best football, right?
Yeah, but that was because they had other people to do the hard work for him. Vidal, for instance, and whoever it was.
Oh, I forgot about Arturo Vidal. He was there. Yeah,
he was a player.
Also, he was making his way in the world then, and he was trying to build himself a reputation. He seems to think he's done the hard work now. He can sit
fantastic point, Billy. Great point.
I think it spoilt him as a player.
He's still there though. If you watched, it's because people get the wrong idea because they see they won everything. Yeah, but because there was no other decent teams in Italy at the time, and Vidal was doing all the hard running for him, so he didn't have to. You know what I mean? He could just turn up for two. You watch the highlights. He's one of the best players. He's magnificent highlight reels from Juve. If you watched him for 90 minutes, you sit there and you think, well, you did a nice flick there that was going to look good on the highlight. You did like nice flicks all the way through the game. He does like 10 or 12 of them. And when you see the highlight reel, you think he's had a magnificent game. But basically, he's done nothing because those flicks did nothing but look pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I can compare him to Coutinho, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I can be exactly the same sort of thing. I can. Coutinho, the things he does is fantastic. But you look at him for 90 minutes.
But they're ineffective, is what I would say. I'd rather have someone who's effective than rather than looking good.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
We can't leave it on Man United. We've got to talk about something else. We're going to have one more topic. We can't leave it on Manchester United, guys.
When will they come out the celebrations?
No, how about we finish on who do we think is going to get relegated?
Oh, right.
How about that to finish it?
Norwich are definitely down.
Ooh.
Well, who was king or queen when Billy was born?
Victoria.
Yeah, he won't remember that long. See, he thinks it's Victoria. It was their great granddad.
And Prince Albert isn't a piercing either. All right, let's leave it at that. Let's start on the relegation then. Who's going to get relegated?
Do we all think Norwich are going to be going? Do we?
Yeah, I think Norwich will finish bottom. And then it's a pair of the other two. So I'm hoping we'll
There were 3 going down, mate. How do you figure that out? Do you mean 2 from the other 3?
Yeah. I want West Ham to go down.
You want West Ham?
I want West Ham to go down, yeah.
Is that because you dislike West Ham, or...?
It's because I dislike West Ham, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I echo that, mate.
I don't care about West Ham one way or the other in that respect. I dislike their ownership and Karen Brady. Yeah. Those people.
That's why I'm saying it. I call them the owners.
She jumped on the bandwagon straight away, didn't she? She was like, "Oh, it should be null and voided straight away."
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that's because her wages take a massive cut if they're in the Championship. She earns a lot less money. Of course, she's not going to want
no material whatsoever. Straight away, she's null and void this season.
Yeah, I don't like her one little bit.
Oh no. Do you remember when
might get caught into it as well? Do
you remember when she sold Paul Pescasolidi at Birmingham?
Yeah.
Her husband,
her boyfriend. Yeah, he was her boyfriend at the time. They had an argument. Seriously, they had an argument. Yeah. Next thing you know, he's at a different club.
Yeah.
And he still married her.
I bet there's loads of husbands around the world wishing their wife would do that to them. Tell them to a club far away as possible.
Yeah, we know you're just revealing your inner truth here.
No, my wife's good to me, mate. What was I going to say?
Well, she even got your cows to play with, didn't she?
What was I going to say? I think Bournemouth, they going down or what? Villa
possibly.
Villa look to be the ones going down, but do you know what? Personally, I hope it's Bournemouth. I know that might seem controversial, but I don't like it. Eddie Howe's ridiculously overrated, and I just.
He's a nice guy, man.
Oh no, I've got nothing against him as a person, but I just don't like his management style. He can't organise a defence. He can't play. You know, people go on about great football. Most of the time, it's terrible. It's boring. It's pass for the sake of passing too much. And the worst thing about them is that they are completely and utterly propped up by a Russian billionaire, and no one seems to think it's a problem. That there's no way that I can believe that they're within FFP regulations with the kind of size they've got.
Why aren't they being investigated
exactly.
then?
That's my point. Is I think they're dodgy as hell. But then Villa are in the.
I like Bournemouth. I hope they stay up. I want West Ham to go down, and then David Moyes can say, I win things.
I spent a lot of time around Bournemouth area.
I
spent a lot of time at the club, and I don't know the club. You know, I just think there's something. I mean, Maxim, what's his name? What's the name of their owner? I forget his name now. But
I don't care. I want Bournemouth to stay up. I love the city and I love the club. I like Eddie Howe. I hope they stay up, man.
I like Eddie Howe.
I've got nothing against Eddie Howe, but I still don't want them to stay up. But like I said, I just don't like the way they're going about it. I just think there's something dodgy there. They've spent all this, and nobody seems to comment on it. Yeah, everyone goes on about everybody else.
No other football club is not. Everybody's got skeletons, mate.
Not to the. I mean, look at the size of their ground. It's tiny, and yet they're managing to spend all this money on.
He's not letting us go, Billy. He's not going to let it go.
I've changed my mind. No, I've changed my mind. I don't want them to go down. I don't want them to go down because who's going to buy our crap off us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, who's the Watford manager now? I can't even remember.
Who's what?
Who's
the Watford manager now? I can't even remember.
Oh God! What's his name came back, didn't he? And then
Flores Perret. Well, he got fired though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Just saying he got fired. So who did they bring?
Who took over? An old manager. What's his name? Pearson.
Yes,
who?
Nigel Pearson. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's nothing wrong with you, dementia, is there, Billy? Yeah.
You're obviously an ostrich with your head in the sand. That's why you didn't remember.
No, he's just taking his pills. That's why.
The odd thing with them is, I mean, how are they going to cope without Deeney? Because he's not playing, is he?
Oh, because he's afraid.
He's having a rethink of that. That's it. He's having a rethink about that. So still playing now. So I think he will be part of it. But as you say, he's a big part for them.
Yeah, even if he doesn't play, you still want him around the, training and all that because he's a big. He's a leader.
Hey, listen.
He's a leader.
He's a big influence as well in the dressing room.
Well, he's a leader, true leader. I like him. I've got a lot of respect for him. He's turned his life around. He had a lot of, he could have been a Ross Barkley, a Jack Grealish, but he's turned his life around and become a key figure for them.
Yeah,
and he's changed his diet and his lifestyle and everything.
Exactly. He's put it all aside. He's realised what he was doing wrong, and he's turned his life around. And
I think he's a good man.
He's turned out to be a nice lad, and he does lots for charity and stuff. Because there's a lot of people that think Ben Foster and are in a competition to Ben Foster's doing all these nice things just to try and prove he's a nicer guy than Troy Deeney alive.
Guys, just chat among yourself for about a minute or two.
I'll talk about him then, shall we?
Who's your other two then, Tris, to go down? So, we're saying Watford, aren't we? Who do you think will go down?
I think Villa will go down, Norwich and Villa. The other one, Brighton. I don't think Watford will. I think they'll be all right.
Trapped into it, but I think they might just survive. Right.
I think it's going to be Brighton or West Ham, personally. I think it's one of those two is the third one. It's definitely
no chance Brighton go down. No chance Brighton go down.
I wouldn't be so sure. I don't want them to go down because I'd like to see Potter do, get a bit more time and see if he's as good as he seemed. Because he looked fantastic, you know what I mean? But it's a big step for him going to Brighton.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility Norwich stay up. There's not been any football for 2 months, right?
I know, it's impossible to tell. It's guesswork, isn't it?
So yeah, exactly. I mean, what's to say Norwich win the first 3 games and Bournemouth or Watford draw the next 3 games? It's just anybody's guess. I mean, I know it's anybody's guess anyway, but it's still up in the air.
I just can't see. When you look at the teams, Villa and Norwich, they just haven't got the players. If you're looking at it, and they're behind, they're the bottom 2, aren't they? If I remember rightly. Guys, I haven't looked at the
Norwich and Villa, the bottom 2. Yeah, you're right.
And I think it's going to. I think that's the main problem they've got is that they're already starting off too far behind.
It's going to be hard for them.
So we're all in agreement. Southampton are uncatchable. They're safe.
I don't see them in trouble now. I think the others will drop enough points that they'll not go down. For me, it's either West Ham, Bournemouth, or Brighton. The third one.
Gotcha.
With Norwich and Villa, definitely.
Billy, what do you think?
I'm going for Norwich, Villa, and West Ham to go down. They're my 3.
Fair enough.
I can't see. I can't see Bournemouth go. I want Bournemouth to go down, like I said, but I can't see them going down because how Spawny get, and they always seem to get lucky when it matters. So I think they'll stay up.
I think they've got players.
I must say, Pearson going back to Watford has rejuvenated them, and he's also changed his style of. Which I don't know about management, but he's changed his style in front of the media because he used to be a real obnoxious person to watch in interviews. But he's not so. I mean, I think somebody's had a word with him.
Yeah, because he's not an obnoxious man by all accounts. Everybody I've met that's known him says he's a really nice guy. He's just a bit. He's not a media sort of media savvy bloke. Apparently, he's a bit of a loner. He likes to do things on his own. He likes to go for long walks in the. He literally goes hill walking for days if he's got on his own. He likes his own space, and he's not into. He doesn't like the thrust of the media. That's the problem he had. So he has
galvanised them, though, hasn't he? He has, he's turned them round. They were rock bottom.
But I mean, he was nobody before his time with Leicester. So I can understand why he struggled in front of the media, why he came across badly, because it's all new to him. He'd never been. He wasn't in the game as a big star. And he wasn't at the time when every player had a microphone thrust in their face all the time. So he'd never dealt with it until that time, until Leicester. So, of course, he probably is going to come across as obnoxious because he just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the one that went for a walk? I mean, went for a walk on his own in the Carpathian Mountains, and he fought off some wild dogs or something.
Yeah, that was where he was out walking something like the Great Wall or something when Watford had to find him because he was out somewhere miles away from anywhere, walking somewhere. I forget where, but yeah, he said something like that.
And he's very cultural as well. He does lots of cultural pursuits.
I wouldn't know, but what he's done for them has been amazing, the way he's turned them around.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I agree, Billy. And the thing is also, he must be really bitter about the way Leicester won the title when he guided them back to kept them in the Premiership.
Yeah.
Do you not think he must work because he wouldn't have got this job if they had, if it wasn't for that? So I don't know. I mean, he's still got on with the owner because they employed him in Belgium at Leicester. The Leicester owners.
But he was away for a while, wasn't he? He was away from the from
yeah,
the big time football for a while.
Yeah, because they gave him a job in Belgium with their other club. But you've got to remember, the problem was his son caused most of the problems.
Yes.
So I don't think he probably just disappointed in his son rather than bitter, I would have said.
I'd say he's a lot more disappointed. I wouldn't use the word disappointed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another stronger word. I mean, that must have broken his heart that his son caused... You know, I mean, we all know little kids at that age say stupid things and they don't necessarily mean it and they don't think it's going to be hurtful and that, and they don't realise the consequence, but still, how can you take that your son's cost you by making racist comments to a tie?
Yeah.
When the owner of the club you're working for, both of you are working for, is Thai. You know what I mean? I mean, how stupid must he...
Yeah.
That isn't even funny, you know. There's only one way that's going to go, and that's going to end up in sacking for both of you.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You know, and how must he feel that it's cost him a chance of a club that then went on and won the league? I mean, how would you feel towards your son after he'd done that to you?
Yeah, could you forgive him? I don't know.
That's a good point you make, Billy, because I mean, that would drive a wedge, wouldn't it? I mean, you'd have to have a lot of love for your kid not to that to happen, driving a wedge between you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at the very least, you've got to be. That's gonna that's gonna rankle and be something you bring up every time there's an argument.
Yeah, an argument. Yeah.
A drink. Can you imagine? Every time Pearson's had a drink, he's thinking about that. Oh well, listen, he's back. I mean, as I said, I quite appreciate and respect his change of tact with the media. So I hope they stay up, and I like Watford as well. And Barnsley used to pay for him.
Yeah, of course you like him because of that.
I just think the problem I have with Watford is the Cotso family with the messing about with the players. You know, you don't even know who's owned by who. The players, you literally do not know which of their players are owned by which club, because that's what happens.
They got third-party stuff going on.
Well, it's not that. They're just, there's like the contracts tend to be all loan contracts and stuff. Because what happened when Granada was bought out, I think I've told you this before, which is why Tony Adams ended up in charge, because they brought this club. He was just supposed to be an advisor, so they bought Granada off the Pozzos. I forget who it was, and they got in there and they turned out the entire playing staff was on loan from Udinese or Watford. They didn't own any of the players that they thought were contracted to the club. And so we were left literally having to build a club from nothing.
Right.
And it was all smoke and mirrors. None of them were actually part of the club at all. But UEFA, when they were registered as players for Granada, I mean, there's a underhanded dealing going on there that I can't understand why this has never been taken further by UEFA. You know, UEFA should have been.
And my point entirely, every has skeletons.
Yeah,
we have a few probably.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we do. But I would rather every single one of them was investigated and checked. You know, this is what a UEFA should be for: is to keep the clubs on the straight and narrow and find these things out and punish people who are making transgressions.
Yeah, and I'd like Angelina Jolie to give me fellatio. That's never going to happen either. So there you go.
Nice lady, Angelina Jolie. I met her. She was at she spent a lot of time at Alder Hay, supports Liverpool.
I think
everyone supports Liverpool. It gets right on me. To be honest with you, it does.
Such a beautiful moment to leave.
She goes to Alder Hay, spends her time in Alder Hay with her kids, and they come out as Liverpool fans. I mean, we kind of cast out on your assertions that everyone in Liverpool supports Everton, because they're in Liverpool and they come out Liverpool fans. I mean, what's there, Bill?
What a beautiful moment to end the podcast. Angelina Jolie being a Liverpool fan. Yeah. It's been emotional, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Enjoyed it.
Speaking to you. It's good to see you still with us, Bill. At your age.
I am still with you. I'm back
the
now,
elderly we have to worry about.
Yeah, help the aged and all that.
Well, he's
it's fun for you.
He's as old as me.
Hopefully, we'll get a few more done now once the season starts. We can get a few more done and catch up and get talk about actual playing and matches.
Well,
and
if not, we can always talk about celebrity supporters because we can always compare. You can always compare. You've got what Sly Stallone and Tony Bellew.
We've got James Bond.
Who else? Who else have you got? Is that it? I can't think of anyone else.
There's loads of Evertonians.
We've got.
Is there?
We've got James Bond. We've got what's his name? The
Brad
fella
Pitt,
from Pulp
Angelina
Fiction.
Jolie, Mike Myers.
Angelina Jolie. Who's the fella?
James
who's the fella?
LeBron James. Yeah, good.
Here you go. He's an owner as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we go. We could go on for a while.
Everybody make me sick.
So we were the Everton ones. Me auntie supports you. Me auntie supports you. There you go. There's a celebrity for you.
That's a good start, anyway.
Yeah, she's a celebrity. She
There's
once met someone famous.
Right, boys, I'm off. I shall see you next week.
Take care. Good luck to your missus. Take care.
Thursday. Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye now.
Bye. Cheers, Bill.
Right, I'm going to stop it there then. And so, bye-bye.
That was a fantastic podcast.
Thursday.